Penguin Random House Audio presents The Grandest Stage, a history of the World Series. This is the author, Tyler Kepner. To be on stage when the whole world is watching, if you don't relish that, you're in the wrong business. Jack Morris. Introduction. The great right-hander bends at the waist and peers in for the sign. His glove, 5 fingers, no webbing, rests on his left knee, his socks pulled high over his calves. His jersey says Boston, with laces stitched up to the collar, but there is no logo on his cap or number on his back. There's no diamond anymore either, though the setting is still a park, a grassy courtyard ringed by wooden benches and a red brick walkway in a grove of oak trees at Northeastern University. This is where you'll find the statue of Cy Young by Robert Shore, commissioned by the Yawkey Foundation in 1993 on the site of the old Huntington Avenue grounds. It's a hidden oasis amid the campus bustle, tucked between the steps of Churchill Hall and the Barletta Natatorium, home of the Huskies swimming and diving teams. 60 feet 6 inches from the statue, on the grass, a stone marker in the shape of home plate notes the significance. On October 1st, 1903, the Boston Pilgrims, now the Red Sox, met the Pittsburgh Pirates in the first modern World Series. General admission seats cost 50 cents. The leadoff man, Ginger Beaumont, took Young's first pitch for a strike, worked a full count, and flied out to Chick's stall in center field, where Hayden Hall now stands. The next day's Boston Globe reported on the front page that 16,000 fans encircled the field, held well back by ropes and a small army of policemen. The Pirates won the game, but Boston took the series 5-3. That is how it all began, when the winners of the National and American Leagues first met to crown a champion. It was called the World's Championship Series, world used as a possessive, not an adjective, the stage so grand that it must belong to the planet, not merely the 16 franchises scattered from Massachusetts to Missouri. In my day, growing up, the World Series was the event of the year, says Carl Erskine, who was born in 1926 and pitched in 5 fall classics for the Brooklyn Dodgers. It was bigger than the Masters, bigger than football and basketball. Times have changed. For several decades now, the Super Bowl has been our sporting fixation. Football wins every poll when fans are asked to name their favorite sport, but baseball is a fundamentally different product, an everyday companion for 7 months, not a once-a-week spectacle for 5. Americans spend countless more hours watching baseball, which has about 10 times as many games, than they do watching football, in person and at home. A Super Bowl lasts less than 4 hours. A World Series might go 25. And what a treat that is for the millions of us who love baseball. Every season is an inverted pyramid, contenders whittled away as the schedule descends to that delicious denouement in 4 to 7 acts, beginning in late October. As the national baseball columnist for the New York Times, I've witnessed every World Series game for 2 decades, plus 21 before that. Yes, I count them all. Only one was an afternoon game, my first, on a golden Saturday in 1983 in my hometown of Philadelphia. I was 8 years old and sat with my mom on the first base side at Veterans Stadium, maybe 15 rows from the field. The Phillies lost to the Baltimore Orioles 5-4, and the managers used almost everyone. 17 players for the Orioles, 19 for the Phillies. Gary Matthews made a leaping catch at the left field wall. Mike Schmidt got a broken bat single. I nearly got trampled chasing a foul ball by Jim Dwyer. The Phillies brought the winning run to the plate in the bottom of the 9th, but Joe Morgan lined out to Len Sakata at second base. That was Game 4, and the next day I was back with my dad for a twilight start. I watched batting practice from the front row and returned for the bottom of the 9th, dipping under the railings to see Scott McGregor finish a 5-0 shutout. Gary Maddox lined out softly to shortstop Cal Ripken Jr., who snagged the ball and shook it in his glove. It was all surreal, it was all new, it was all fun, says Ripken, who was 23 and never got back. As a kid, you want to be a big league player, but part of your dream is to win the World Series, and I know what that feels like. Once. Ripken remembers fans swarming the field, grabbing at his glove to try to steal the ball. He tucked his cap in his glove, too, so nobody could snatch it off his head. That was still when people rushed the field, he says, It was on the road, so it wasn't crazy like maybe it would have been at home, but you felt like you had to get off the field. It's funny, I had the opposite feeling. Why weren't we storming the turf? As I recall it, and video backs me up, the Orioles celebrated with no outsiders invading their space, no strangers in street clothes amid the revelers. When the Phillies won in 1980, mounted horse patrol had protected the field. This time there were no such obstacles, and none were needed. We weren't being civil, we were numb. Angry too, or at least bitterly disappointed. I was also confused. Maybe this was my fault. The Phillies had won the opener, and when they lost Game 2, I wasn't too upset. I had tickets to Games 4 and 5, so a split in Baltimore meant that both of my games would be played. Then weird stuff started happening. A ball skids on a wet spot on the turf in Game 3, and the Phillies lose. My brother steals my lucky hat before Game 4, and they lose again. Eddie Murray hits his name on the scoreboard, okay, just below it, with a homer in the Game 5 rout. How could my heroes lose all 3 at home? The men themselves were just as dumbfounded. I remember going back to my townhouse after that Game 5 and sitting there by myself going, how did we lose? We've got Pete Rose, we've got Joe Morgan, we've got Mike Schmidt. I can't believe we lost, says Marty Bystrom, who pitched that day. It's devastating, but it happened. And not only that, but they swept us at the vet. Bystrom had been part of the 1980 team, taking a hero's ride down Broad Street with his teammates. Buoyant masses, including future Phillies champion Jamie Moyer, 17, who skipped class at Souderton High School, lined the parade route to JFK Stadium, where Tug McGraw thrust his weary left arm to the sky, clutching a copy of the Daily News with a 2-word headline, "We win!" Bystrom hopped off the float and wandered home in a daze with Dickie Knowles and Bob Walk, 3 kids from the farm system, none of them alive for the city's last World Series in 1950, sprinkled in with the happy throng. Somehow, they'd brought joy to millions. By 1984, Bystrom was pitching for the Yankees, where he joined a rotation with Phil Niekro, the ageless knuckleballer bound for Cooperstown. Niekro spent decades striving to reach the stage where Bystrom competed as a rookie. He never made it. I was 26 years old and he's 46, Bystrom says. Think of how many years he played in the major leagues and he never played in the World Series. So you consider, wow, how lucky was I? It happened the first month and a half that I was in the big leagues, and then it happened again. Willie Mays hit no homers in the World Series, but Willie Mays Aikens hit 4. Justin Verlander has no World Series victories, but Jose Urquidy has 3. Nobody from the 1991 Hall of Fame class, Rod Carew, Fergie Jenkins, Gaylord Perry, ever got there. Neither did Ernie Banks, Ken Griffey Jr., Roy Halladay, Ryne Sandberg, or Ichiro Suzuki. More teams have taken part in recent years, with layers of playoffs creating more opportunities. At the turn of the 21st century, neither Texas team had reached the World Series, and neither Chicago team had won since the First World War. Now, every team except the Seattle Mariners has won a pennant, and half of the 30 franchises have raised a banner since 2001, with no repeats, the longest stretch ever without back-to-back championships. To win the World Series, it takes a lot out of you, it does, says former Giants manager Bruce Bochy, who won 3 titles, but none consecutively, from 2010 through 2014. Of course, there's a lot of things that go with that. The celebrating, the stress it can put on some pitchers, and even the players, mentally and physically. With pitchers training for lighter workloads than ever, an extra month of stressful innings often takes a toll the next season. In 2021, the Braves removed Ian Anderson from a Game 3 no-hitter after 5 innings and 76 pitches. There was no chance he was going 9 anyway, manager Brian Snitker explained, and the bullpen was rested. The Braves won. 40 years earlier, in another Game 3, a different rookie, Fernando Valenzuela of the Los Angeles Dodgers, threw 147 pitches in a complete game. He walked 7 and gave up 9 hits, but lifted his team back into the World Series after 2 losses in New York. It was the apex of Fernando mania and propelled the Dodgers to the title. It wasn't Fernando's best performance, Vin Scully said on radio. It was his finest performance. 7 years later, the Dodgers were back in the World Series, but Valenzuela was an afterthought. Only 27, he'd already made his last All-Star team. For pitching heroics in 1988, the Dodgers turned to Orel Hershiser, using him for 5 starts and 1 relief appearance in a stretch of only 17 days. He had a save and 3 complete games to carry his team.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?